Hey everyone, hope you're well. So, I wanted to do something different today. I have a box of records from my friend who helped her grandparents move out of their home about 3 years ago, and I haven't been through them, and I decided to go through it today. And I found this record from the Trinity Methodist Church in Springfield, Massachusetts. And on the A side is a choir, and the B side's a sermon. And the sermon is by a man named Reverend H. Hughes Wagner. So, this was recorded on Valentine's Day in 1965, and I thought it'd be interesting to see what Mr. Wagner has to say about love.
This month. Why not? Because it's St. Valentine's Day. And we speak of old-fashioned garden variety, romantic love between a man and a woman. For 9 out of 10 times when you hear the word love mentioned from a Christian pulpit, 9 out of 10 people are thinking about something entirely different from that which the preacher is talking about. For there are 3 words in the original Greek of the New Testament which are used for love. All are translated love. But they are as far as apart as hell is from heaven. The full spectrum is included. The word eros, for example, speaks only of animal, physical, bestial love. From it comes the word eroticism. The word philia, it speaks of goodwill, friendship, charity. Philanthropy comes from it. Filial comes from it. But the words agape, Greek word agape, is the word used in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. It's the kind of a love which we see upon the cross of Calvary, the self-giving of one for another, by the one English word, love. And sometimes the preacher is talking about agape, usually he is, and the people are thinking of erotos. This morning there is no such confusion, for we are in this very real world in between at the center, where it has pleased God to make man after his own image, and male and female created he them, for it was pleasing unto him. And it's mighty pleasing unto us too. It is to me anyway. And we fall in love with each other, and that's the way it should be. And there is a song that says, love makes the world go round, and it does. And that's the kind of a love I am talking about this morning. So there is no confusion. The St. Valentine's type of love. Not from the moral standpoint, not from the religious standpoint, from the human standpoint, because this is such a colossal human subject. I think there is no question about it that the most, certainly one, if not the most powerful, most human instinct or emotional drive in this earth, in history, has to do with this matter of the passion of a man for a woman. And certainly it is freighted with more consequences for good and for ill, for evil and for virtue, than any other subject there is or any other experience that there is. And to bypass it and not discuss it, think about it from a Christian pulpit, really, that's what we should be apologizing about. As enormous as it is, as vital as it is, as crucial as it is, affecting every one of us. Who are our teachers? Who are our instructors? Who mold and guide the thinking of our culture about the subject? Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. That's who. The dreamy celebrity glamour folks who have made an absolute chaos and mess out of their lives, who write articles and have interviews on love. That's the Mills of Hollywood, the producers of New York Broadway theatrical productions, the editors of Confession and Girly magazines, the roughs masquerading under the title of realism. These are our instructors. And silence from the Christian pulpit. This morning I would like to talk about it from three angles, and I will take the pattern, the Hollywood pattern, the fairy story pattern. A man and a girl fall in love with each other precipitously, overnight. Love at first sight. There is a whirlwind, red-hot courtship, marriage, and they live happily ever after. Well, that's it. There are exceptions, of course, but by and large, that's the theme of innumerable, countless productions everywhere. And it's wrong in every count. It's a shambles from beginning to end. And those who write it don't have any more conception of what real love is than the man on the moon. Take the first point. They fall in love precipitously, overnight. It's love at first sight. One enchanted evening, saw a stranger across a crowded room. Bang! Their eyes met. They were in love. It's a beautiful song, isn't it? And it's a travesty. Because love is a relationship between persons. It may come as a surprise to some of you young men, but I'll tell you this, that a girl is not only a girl, she is a person. She's a human being. That ever occur to you? And a boy is not only a boy, but he's a person, a human being. True sex may trigger the approach. Its music is a whistle right at the beginning. That's honest enough to say that is the original attraction. But that can never sustain love. That can never sustain a relationship. Only persons can sustain it. And love is a relationship between persons. And sex is a consequence, not a cause. So it may originally trigger it. And folks do not fall in love with each other, because a crowded room on one enchanted evening, a pair of eyes, one doesn't know anything more about that creature than that there is a pair of eyes, not as a person. That takes time, cultivation, sensual reflections of things, until by and by what's outside really doesn't matter. It's the person that counts. And without that, it's lost. It is not love. I had a professor, Dr. Earl Marlatt. I hesitate to say that he never married himself, but I better be honest about it, who, writing a philosophical monogram upon the definition of personality, pretty profound subject, because he was a unique man, used this illustration in it. He said, here is a boy. He falls in love with a dimple. A dimple. Cute dimple. He falls in love with it. And he marries her. And after it's over, he finds he's tied up not only to that dimple, but to a left arm, a nasty disposition, and an impossible mother-in-law. The whole person, you see, that's what love is made out of. You can tell by the outside. I married a couple here some years ago. A very strange couple, I admit. As far as I was concerned, they probably thought I was. I married them, and after it was over, he said to me, how much do I owe you? And I said, how much do you think she's worth? And he looked at her for a moment, her. Now that is the gospel truth. I'm not. Then I looked at her and I almost handed him back 15 cents change. You can't tell. Because love is a relationship between persons, not dimples, fascinating teeth, a lovely curl, a nice figure, bulging muscles, fascinating personality. That's not love. With that, you were attracted immediately. True. Love is a relationship between persons, human beings. So it's wrong at the beginning. Second is that there's a whirlwind courtship. Let me say a word about a subject which you would not ordinarily hear from a Christian pulpit, but I'm going to do it this morning, about premarital relations and premarital sexual relations between young people before they're married. Why not? You read it everywhere in all the magazines. It's discussed on the New York Broadway Theater in no uncertain terms. It's in the books, it's in all the books, and the teaching there and the guidance there and the examples given there. If I know anything about love, they're not true at all. Why shouldn't we give a little honest viewpoint toward this subject? The way we've handled it, us orthodox, dignified folks, it hasn't worked out very well. Somehow we're making a mess out of it and we're not getting across. Somehow we've got to get it across, because too many young lives are being ruined by this, the influence of the type of thing that we read in the secular press. I suppose folks would say, looking at me in the pulpit, of course you're against it. Premarital relation. You're against it. You are dead right. I'm against it. But are not moral reasons, they are not religious reasons, any more than the Song of Solomon is a religious book, though I certainly could. They are not even social reasons. So as a sociologist looking at this subject could certainly give you boundless reasons. But a very, very practical matter, and the practical reason is this, that I am an old-fashioned romantic. I am in love with love. I wanted to stay here in this world because it's a beautiful thing. And I get angry at anything that despoils it, mars it, is silly and indecent. I hate that thing. That's why I hate premarital relationships, because that it is an ugly travesty and impostor masquerading, but it is not love. Why? Because love is a relationship between persons, and the essence of it is respect. And any other person to be disrespectful, to violate his own or her own decency, and to lose his or her dignity as a human being, doesn't love that person. He's a hunter like a fellow with a gun after a rabbit, but he does not love. He's using as one would use a tool or a weapon, but he does not love, because love defends one's beloved and does not violate. And just remember that, because it's true. I don't know too much about girls, but except by observation. But I know plenty about men, because I'm one of them. And these spacious arguments that are given, that I love you so much, and the oldest con game in history, and he lies through his teeth. If there was really love, he'd be the first one not to make such proposition. Believe me. And the second reason, or the second point, would be this, that the key to all of this lies with the girl. I know I'm accused of being a double standard. Perhaps so. I'm not excusing it, I'm not justifying it, but I would like to be very realistic about it. That's the way our world is run. The man is the aggressor, the girl is the defense. The defense is weak, and the girls who ought to be the ones saying no, 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 are falling like poor, dumb, stupid, pitiful fools before this old confidence game. And that's what it is. Giving away every advantage they have. Anybody who knows anything about the strategy of love knows that the essence of it for a girl is to keep them guessing. Lose that and you've lost it all. You ever see a dog race? Greyhounds. They put a rabbit out in front of the dog, about 10 feet, and that rabbit stays right ahead of the dog all the way around the track. And that poor dog goes lumbering down the tracks, his tongue hanging out, his feet beating the tracks, trying to get that rabbit. He never gets it. That's what makes a race, what makes a champion. But let the dog get the rabbit. What happens? The race is over. And the rabbit, poor thing, mechanical thing, is chewed to pieces. And that's a parable. And that's what happened. And that's exactly what happened. And any girl's too moral, I don't say be religious, and I'm not saying be pious, I am saying just be smart. Because that's what it comes down to. To give away all the advantages. And then watch the hunter go into another field after another rabbit somewhere. Deserves our great pity. Don't you do it. If a girl wants someday to have the chance to be able to say yes to a genuine and honest proposal for a lifelong love, she'd better learn how to say no, 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 no. Before that time, or she'll never have that opportunity to say yes. And I know what I'm talking about, because that's the way men operate. It's the way of the world. And if he doesn't come back, if it does come true that he leaves for that reason, then thank your lucky stars. You know then what he was after, and it was not love. So it is not love, this whirlwind courtship. And finally, very finally, they live happily ever after. Well, that's a fallacy too. The same kind of people come out of marriage that go into it. None of them. No miracle is performed at a marriage ceremony. There is no great alchemy that makes the road smooth. The course of true love does not run smooth either before or after marriage. And since love is a relationship between people, then there are individuals, there are bound to be collisions, and there are collisions. And the old familiar story about the woman who had been married 50 years and was asked if she'd ever thought of divorce, and she said, divorce, never. Murder, yes, but divorce, never. That story has a genuine truth to it. There's something about sticking with it. The Song of Solomon says love is as strong as death. Love is as strong as death. What some people call love is as fragile as a feather in the wind. And the first conflict that comes along, the first trouble, the first collision, she runs home to mother, and if mother had a lick of sense, she'd close the door and turn her around and say, go back there. And half of our troubles are mothers who don't have sense enough to do just that. But after a while, one begins to see that the same thing that makes a tree long and sturdy and its roots go down deep and deep and deep and deep, because it has withstood many a hurricane and many a summer, blistering summer, and many a howling winter, and all of these have made it strong. So at long last, those who have endured will find that it is the quarrels that have been patched up, the forgivenesses that have been dished out, the problems that have been solved, the rocky roads that have been trod, and the difficulties that have been endured are themselves the very thing that makes a golden glory to this matter of love. After many, many years, that's it. So that it's almost right to use the word agape when speaking about that kind of a love that does have on it the glow, the touch of the sublime and the divine, that is not unrelated to Calvary's height. And because I personally have had, my love life has been quite special, in the same way that my belief and my faith, I have this great urge to share it. I would covet and I would cherish for everyone here, those who are young, just starting out, and are so fooled by this nonsense that they read. Those who are in midlife, whose ways are rocky and who are tempted to give it up quickly. Those of us who are older, who have gone a long while at it, and are beginning to see that the difficulties are the things that make it. I say I covet for you that kind of a love, which is an agape love, divine, even worthy to be used with the term devotion on this St. Valentine's Day. Let's pray.
So I'm happy we got to hear that. I know the quality's not the best. I was using a record player that I bought about 15 years ago for $10, and if you touch any of the components, it'll take off, so I kind of had to leave it alone. But we got to hear the message, and I hope you all have a great weekend and a great week, and God bless. Talk to you soon.